Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Olympic story powered by Sports Adda, obviously. And as our story continues tirelessly, today we have reached a chapter which redefines the term inspirational, the warrior spirit, undiminishing, awe inspiring, stimulating. I mean, I can carry on with the adjectives, I will probably run out of them, and I still won't be able to pay an apt testament. So, well, I'm not going to do it. I am going to let the person who's gracing us with her presence today do this. Yes, I'm talking about India's first woman para athlete to get us a medal. I'm talking about an Arjuna awardee. I'm talking about a Padma Shri. I'm talking about the very first athlete to become the president of the Federation of the Paralympic Committee in India. So, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the one and only Mrs. Deepa Malik.
Thank you so much. Such an overwhelming introduction. Thank you, really. Uh,
No,
it,
it is.
it it validates the journey, and it just feels nice. And I get more motivation that I have still miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep.
And that is this just so amazingly awe-inspiring, ma'am. It truly is. And I just want to definitely start off right off the bat with the fact that it's true. The fire in your belly burns so bright that it's impossible. I mean, when I was talking about it with a lot of my colleagues, when I read up on you, when I actually did all of that, I just couldn't stop thinking about this. And I was so excited to actually get into this conversation because the first thing that hit me was the fact that you very soon or very early, maybe in your life, interchanged the word obstacle with opportunity. Both of them start with the same alphabet, but you did it so beautifully well. So, again, kudos.
Thank you. I think it was more of a journey which began as a personal one and took a larger than life meaning because I probably was craving for an identity, and I was a walking person who then got the physical challenge in her body and probably realized how disability is conceived. And having played internationally, it is not just an issue in our country. I think this is a global issue. And when your purpose is so global, and uh, I think that became a great motivation for me to do what I did. I started off in sports very late, but this was more of a medium to actually acquire a better identity than just being called a wheelchair disabled person.
Amazing. It's truly amazing. All right. So, as we kick off our journey today, ma'am, I of course would like to start with one of your quotes, which was again very exciting. Was the fact that when you said that we should expect medals in double digits this time around at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, at the Paralympics. So, I want to actually start with the fact that last time around also we did fabulously well. We qualified for five events, five spots. We won four medals. I mean, that is an
And
amazing
a world
hit rate.
record. And a world
Exactly.
record with two
Yes.
goals. Two goals.
Yes. Exactly. And so the first thing that I'd like to start off with, ma'am, is that we are doing wonderfully well in terms of the performance. Is there something special, or are the standards very high for qualification, which makes the athletes far more focused as they go into the Paralympics? What is the reason?
I'm glad you asked because there is a myth around the fact that there is not too much of a competition there. They just represent 15% of the world population. The number of people in disability are less, but that doesn't take away the level of the competition. The funnel for us for selection is equally narrower because there are several disability categories. We have a lot of equipment, a lot of attendants attending the event. So number of medals do not change. The medal event remain. So there is a ballpark that okay, in athletics there will only be 300 some medals.
Sure.
So the disability category keeps getting rotated in different. So there is always a chance that your category may not figure. Like for example, my favorite sport of shot put and javelin does not figure in 2020. I may be
Hmm.
doing very well in my individual sport, but discus is not something that my body acquires to, and 2020 is discus. So similarly, MQS will never decide that you will eventually go for the games because there's a quota allocation system. If 84 of my para athletes have qualified, then only 24 slots have come, out of which 20 are for male and 4 are for female. So there is always a quota allocation system as per ranking, as per qualification. So even within our country, for example, if we take javelin, uh, our four javelin throwers in F46 category fall in top five positions
Oh
in the
wow.
world.
Oh
So
wow.
only three can go. So imagine Rinku Huda, despite
Mhm.
being top five position, could not make it to the the Tokyo Paralympic list. So
Wow.
this is how it is, and so the competition is so tough. Even for high jump event, if I take, we had five
Mhm.
people competing
Wow.
for T42 F42 high jump, and only three are going. So the competition is pretty high. The level of performances have gone up, and we are very proud that last time it was five events. This time these are nine events. Last time it was a squad of 19 only, and all the medals came only from athletics. This
Hmm.
time, nine different sporting events are going. There is a huge jump in the participation of female athletes, and we talk about double digits of medals. Why I can say that with a conviction is because just in athletics, when we had the final selection trials, we had 14 of them standing in top three positions. And there are at least 10 of them who are in top six positions. So it gives us a very strong hope. And when we talk about badminton, we have world number one in male and female both. We talk about shooting. Our shooters have achieved MQS with world records. So definitely we are very hopeful, and we also have an excellent swimmer going this time. He's very confident about his performance. Of course, swimming, we did not get enough time because the pools were closed, but Suesh looks very confident. He's improving his time and training very fast. TT girls are there, table tennis girls are there, and para canoeing, para taekwondo. Again, female participation has come up in new sports.
That's amazing. That's truly amazing. And actually, what is also very amazing, ma'am, is the fact that, like you just described it, I'm so happy to hear this that our bench strength of the athletes is growing year on year, and which augurs very well as far as the future is concerned. But that brings me to this point, which you just talked about, classification or categories, right? I would really like you to shed light on that for all of us as viewers to understand that how does it work? What is the mechanism like? Because, for example, in your personal case, you trained for 3 years for an event which was javelin, and then all of a sudden that event gets scrapped. You have to pick up a new event, which of course again is, well, I toss my hat to that, and you did wonderfully well, and you win a silver in it. So well, yeah, but why does this keep happening? I mean, why is there always changes in classifications, changes in the sports? Why can't we have all three, for example? Why can't we have a javelin, a discus, and a shot put, right? Why are there these changes? One. Secondly, also would like to understand, which again was something which intrigued me, was that there is this Polish table tennis player who participated in the Olympics, and now she's going to do it in the Paralympics. So how is that happening? I mean, it would be interesting. Natalia is her name. I'm sorry, I don't want to mispronounce her last name because I'll make mince meat out of it. So I don't want to get into that. So, yeah.
So I'll definitely shed light, and I'm glad you asked because a lot of people are very confused about the category and why the sporting events keep changing. Um, See, when we go and watch an Olympics, we are only seeing 100-meter race. We are only seeing one 800-meter race. Whereas we have different disability categories where people, according to the functionality of their body functions, of their muscle groups, and the limbs that they have, as per that they have been segregated into different categories, so that the level of the competition and the level of difficulty in the body remains the same. The wheelchair categories start from 51 to 58. We have amputee categories, we have polio categories, we have cerebral palsy categories, we have dwarf categories, we have visually impaired categories, we have intellectually challenged categories to certain level, because if they are beyond a certain level, then they are not part of Paralympics. They move on to Special Olympics. So some level of intellectual ability has to be there to categorize in that category. Now, if you see, just in wheelchair, we have 8 different categories. Now, if we consolidate, we cannot end up having 48 100-meter races. We cannot have 48 200-meter races. So, somewhere the medal events have to be uh, balanced out, and then the staff also increases. With the certain categories, you have to have guide runners. For example, visually impaired categories, you have guide runners who run along with the competitor. A person like me who's categorized in 53 category has to have a competition partner who supports me to get strapped into my competition chair. So they have to balance it out. They have to select and rotate events to give equal opportunities. Like I just said, I'm okay with shot put, I'm okay with javelin throw, but discuss when I try to get the swing on a side, I my body function, my spinal surgeries get inflamed, that area gets injured again and again. I tried making a medal at the Para Asian Games in 2018 in discus as well. I tried to learn that for 2020, but my body gave up. So doctors advised me against that jerk which was coming. So that is how they have to keep rotating events in certain disability categories. And it also depends in that particular region. Uh, what is the more popular sport? At the end of the day, the number of medal winning events have to be balanced. So that is why there is a rotation of sporting events in certain categories to give equal opportunity. And this is why it also becomes even more difficult to win medals at Paralympics, because when I won my Rio medal and I was world number 2 in shot put, in the following Commonwealth Games, I could have been a gold medal winner, but it never happened because my category was not there. So every medal is very precious, and every medal has a lot of chance along with your hard work with it.
So I'd like to ask you, in terms of the internal federations, we still have the federation still overviews the athlete, all the athletes, whether they are participating in the Paralympics, whether they're participating in the Olympics, right? So with your new role now, ma'am, I had a couple of things which I thought I'd ask you, which would be on the lines of saying that is there now a representative in each federation who is at least the voice of the para athletes? Point one. Point two was the fact that a lot of the national camps that we ended up seeing, right? The para athletes did not seem to be participating in those national camps. This is prior to the Olympics. Or they were not included, or maybe they were not aware of that. But I would really like you to tell us about that. Thirdly, international coaches, like for example, our table tennis stars and the other athletes who travel internationally for coaching, or they have coaches who are guiding them and taking care of them in preparation for the Olympics, for the games. Does that also do the para athletes also have access to these coaches, international coaches, or for that matter their guidance or their services? So I mean, a lot of these things I just thought I would really like to understand, because my thought was inclusion is, I believe, something which I have been able to kind of understand from all of that I have been seeing in terms of your press conference, whatever you've been speaking about. And I think that's a very large role that you're trying to accomplish.
I'm very proud of the fact that I belong to the sports fraternity, which actually expresses the growth of a country, the mindset of a society, and also impacts the policy decisions. So, when, especially as a member of the Prime Minister's Committee of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, which actually depicts India at 75, I'm really honored to be in the role that I have been put in. This clearly shows that now the federation is becoming athlete centric. In every decision, athletes' views are taken. And when you say, do athletes have a voice? What bigger voice than an athlete sitting herself in the leadership role, which is the highest role
Fabulous.
of the federation? So,
Fabulous.
definitely, my role has become a more responsible because me being an athlete myself, athletes expect a lot. They expect a lot and they believe a lot. They have a lot of faith. So the communication gap, or there is nothing called a communication gap anymore. Whatever they want to say, they can call up at any time because for last 12 years, 14 years, I've been playing with them. They are my buddies.
Right.
I have shared travels, camps, competition grounds with them, training areas with them. So there is no inhibition in them to reach out. Because in 14 years, they clearly know what kind of a person I am and how approachable I am. So it that voice part is definitely taken care of. Now we come to the second part of your question, which says inclusivity in training. When you say a lot of people, children did not join the camp or were not in the camp, let me tell you, every person who was on the run-up of Road to Tokyo was offered a camp. They have automatically been absorbed into the target Olympic podium scheme the moment their qualification gets confirmed. Yes, a few of them came in late because that is how our funnel is. We have worked on a ranking system, and a lot of them changed their ranking in the last trials. So, as recent as 2 months, uh,
Mhm.
they have been included in the target Olympic podium scheme. For example, Ranjit Bhati, when he participated in nationals, even on that day, when he started his journey to qualify, he was 30th in the ranking. Then, when it came to nationals in March, he was 18th in the world ranking. So
Fabulous.
he was still not figuring in the system of target Olympic podium scheme because there is a cutoff of at least top 10 rankings, right? But in the nationals, he secured fifth ranking, and the day he did that, he was part of the Indian camp also, and he was also a part of the target Olympic podium scheme.
Mhm.
We are growing. We are in a nascent stage right now,
Mhm.
and slowly everybody is believing that there is a lot of glory, competition, hard work, science, and you know this whole sport is mainstream. This is being accepted now ever since our prime minister has focused on uh, sports for all. The policies are becoming better and better day by day, and it is very amazing to see that state policies are also following up. So if I say that there is any difference in funding, there is any difference in training camps, there is any difference in providing them foreign coaches, uh, that is not there. It's just that our athletes are slowly getting educated to acquire, adopt, and use these facilities.
Amazing, ma'am. Honestly, that is truly amazing. And I think two things which augur so well going forward for all the para athletes is the fact that one, of course, we have an athlete herself, who is now the president, understands the nuances of everything. Point one, and point two, to coach you, is the inspirational aspect of things. Where you said once, I remember, I might be paraphrasing, but you said that somebody throwing a javelin, an athlete throwing a shot put, we do it as well, but it's just a slight difference. And I thought that was just beautiful because yes, it's
Have
true.
you
It
also
is
heard of the saying that winners don't do different things, they just do it differently?
differently.
So
Yes.
when a differently abled person is doing it, it is
Uh,
bullseye.
and that's another level of it. Yeah, that's so true. All right. So, Tokyo contingent, have we tweaked anything from our experiences from Rio? Have we worked on certain things? Have we sharpened our contingent even further? From purely the chances, how has the preparation been? Because also, like you have mentioned, the COVID, the COVID situation, the pandemic, the lockdowns, all of those factors. So keeping all of those things in mind, what has been the preparation like now, going into the Tokyo 2020?
The preparation has been continuous communication. I think a continuous communication and erasing any fears and doubts from their mind has been a very key factor this time. Even Sports Authority of India has conducted several sensitization programs. We have had a continuous webinar with them, and mental health has been kept on the focus. There's been a lot of webinars conducted around it. Even when athletes have come forward and expressed, so much so that our world number one right now, Sandeep Chaudhary, he wanted to change a coach just 3 months into the training. And we never really pushed him with the same coach if he was not mentally feeling good. So, which normally has never happened. So, this whole focus around mental well being and keeping them safe in a bio bubble, that exercise has been very exhausting. But I'm so proud of my athletes. They have been really, really very disciplined. They have really focused and taken everything. And look at the way they have improved their performances. Even Devendra, uh, he appeared after a year in a competition and he broke his own record. Had it
Yeah,
been an international event, it would have been a new world record. It would have been a
yeah,
new world record for Sandeep Chaudhary. So Navdeep has improved. So every category, the athletes have shown only progress. It goes to show that how even from home in pandemic situation, nobody has chosen an excuse. Whether it comes to the coaching staff, I have to give it to coaches also. I have to give it to administration also. Secretary General Mr. Bhushan has been very proactive. Uh, we have kept regularly in touch with the COVID protocols. Dr. V.K. Dabas is our COVID liaison officer. I have to give a huge thank you to Sports Authority of India and Teams Division, Radhika Madam and her team. They have worked day in and day out with us. To be attending the MOC meetings, and whenever a topic of proposal comes around para, their assistive aids, their wheelchairs, I give it to IOA and every other federation that they have never said no. So it's a very healthy collaborative atmosphere that is developed, and I'm very happy that I'm seeing the change, and I'm a part of this change. And another thing that we have done, we have understood that the athletes want to be seen as mainstream now. So
sure.
we have kept the same uniform for them, the same playing kit for them as the able bodied, because the recall factor for the country should be the same. When they say
Absolutely.
when they see a picture of a Bajrang Punia and a Devendra Jajaria wearing the same outfit, the same colors, the same design, it has a very amazing recall factor.
Sure.
Um, we have also made them part of the same social media campaigns done by corporates, so that they are seen in the same light. I can't talk about it, but very soon you will see that
Sure, sure.
what was done, very leading advertisement campaign was done for the able bodied. I have pushed it for the para athletes also. It was a last minute push, but I'm glad we were able to do it. For coming to our anthem, somewhere we missed out our visuals in Cheer for India anthem, or the even the second anthem which came out. Um, so we have created our own, and
Nice.
we are launching it on the third with Honorable and new Honorable Minister for Sports, Anurag Thakurji. So we are trying to give them that feeling of mainstream. That yes,
Yes.
you are as precious, as respected as any other sports person in the country.
Excellent. That's excellent. But of course, ma'am, I just want to say this, that what you said right at the end was the fact that yes, it is mainstream and it has to be, because that level of hard work, that level of dedication that every athlete puts in is no different from whether you're able-bodied or whether you're a para athlete. Because when you roar for glory, right? So of course now 10 to 12 hopefuls, maybe medal hopefuls, ma'am. Are you? Am I being
Yeah, I
right in
mean,
my
uh,
estimation?
that is the minimum that I'm hoping.
Good, excellent, excellent. I'm loving the enthusiasm, and of course, you talked about the fact that the mechanism is now probably in place. Now we are just going to keep oiling the machinery as it keeps getting better and better as we keep moving along. So, your thoughts on Paris? A larger contingent, a
Definitely.
larger number of sports that we qualify for.
This would have been larger, but the sad part is that we could not really take a new talent pool to the competitions abroad and IPC events because there is a
Because of
classification.
the yeah, because also
Medical
the pandemic, ma'am.
pandemic,
Was
definitely pandemic,
yeah.
because there were so many new talents that had come up, but
Mm.
they could not become a part of the road to Tokyo because there is a medical classification involved to
Mm.
get the correct physical category to play in. For that, you have to be under IPC qualified classifiers. And what
Mhm.
saddens me is that we still don't have one in our country. That's also
Mhm.
my focus now, to train the trainers, to make the classifiers. At least the kind of talent pool that we have,
Mhm.
we should be having at least 50 trained classifiers in the country. That only then we'll be able to take out the grassroots real
Sure.
talent. The So there were a lot of them who could not really get medically classified because they were a new talent pool. But
Mhm.
and Paris, I'm really looking forward to, because they have already declared it as Olympic Paralympic Village. There is a treaty between United Nations, IPC, and IOC that hereon the games will be called, launched, everything together. So that
Nice.
will also bring in more mainstream value
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
para sports in the country also. For example, here, like the Cheer for India song could have been inclusive, the
Sure.
launches could have been inclusive. But I think Paris is going to do that.
Excellent.
They have already declared it as one.
That's nice. That's really nice to hear, ma'am. There's going to be a lot of. It's going to be a homogeneous sort of an affair. It's going to be inclusive, and it's just going to be filled with a lot of glory and medals. And I'm sure with you at the helm, we are fairly confident that you'll be able to do it. So,
I'm doing the best. I'm also
yeah, yeah.
learning. Administration is a learning process, but I'm very happy that I have my mentors, my seniors to guide me all along.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. All right, ma'am. So before we before we let you go, I would like to request you for a message that you would probably like to give to the entire contingent that's there at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics.
My contingent keeps hearing from me all the time, and I will be with them right there. My message would probably be for the country and
Yeah,
not the contingent.
yeah,
Contingent has worked hard, they are ready to roar. It is our countrymen who need to cheer them. If you cheer for India, you must praise for Para also. Follow our
nice.
theme song, follow our heroes, tweet about them, talk about them. The social media awareness is a huge way to reach out to the masses. Thank you for doing this interview and talking about para sports. My request to countrymen and everyone in India is that continue to celebrate Tokyo 2020 even after 4th of August, because the latter part of the Tokyo is still there to come. And yes, we are working very hard to get India medals and take the tricolor up at Tokyo. So follow us, believe in us, cheer for us, and praise for Para.
Fabulous, fabulous. Well, thank you so much. It has been an enlightening experience. Learned so much. Been inspired all over again, and the stories I'm sure will just continue to roll out as we keep plodding along with a lot of strength year on year, and we ensure that we are going to be putting ourselves on the map again and again and again. So, well, for all of you guys who've been watching, thank you so much. And like I say time and again, कहानी अभी बाकी है मेरे दोस्त. The Olympic story
पिक्चर
shall
अभी बाकी
continue.
है, पिक्चर अभी
Exactly.
बाकी है मेरे दोस्त.
अभी बाकी है मेरे दोस्त, as it's always been powered by Sports Adda, and we shall bring, as I always promise you, brilliant people on the show who just uplift oneself, and it's so amazing that when they shine, that light is always going to burn bright. And always, as I say this, please feel safe, keep your family safe, get jabbed, because this jab is not going to hurt. Till we meet again, this is Sudhi signing off.